All right, let's talk about the cloud. We all use it, right? Every single day. It's where our photos live, where we stream our shows. It pretty much runs our lives. But what if I told you it's not some magical, weightless thing floating up in the sky? Let's get into this, because the reality is way more grounded and honestly way more controversial than you probably think.
So just for a second, what do you picture when you hear the cloud? Is it a super clean, futuristic server room, or is it just kind of nothing? Just this abstract idea? Well, the physical reality is anything but abstract.
In the real world, the cloud looks like this. It's a massive open-pit mine, literally carved out of the earth to get the lithium that powers the batteries for our digital world. And it's in places where communities are already struggling with water shortages and where workers are fighting just to make a living wage. This is the ground floor of the physical cloud.
It also looks like this. These huge submarine cables that are basically the veins and arteries of the internet. And think about this for a second. Out of roughly 25 of these cables connecting a continent like Africa to the rest of the world, only 2 are primarily owned by local African groups. The rest? They're controlled by foreign corporations, which creates this enormous technological dependency.
So let's just be really clear here. The cloud isn't some fluffy, harmless concept. It's a global machine. And it's built on a very old, very familiar business model: extraction. And that really brings us to the core idea we're digging into today.
There's a term for this whole system: cloud colonialism. It's the idea that our modern digital world, all the platforms, all the infrastructure, is being used to continue a really old historical pattern. It's a system designed to control, to exploit, and to extract a ton of value, especially from formerly colonized nations and from indigenous communities. And this timeline just lays it out so perfectly. I mean, look, in the 18th century, it was raw materials like cotton and sugar being shipped from colonies to Europe. In the 19th, it was rubber and minerals, fueling industrial growth back in the metropole. And today, the raw material is data, our data, and it's being extracted from all over the world and refined into incredible wealth in the data centers of Silicon Valley. It's the same model, just a different resource.
And this is absolutely crucial. This extraction isn't just about data or minerals. It has a deep, hidden human cost, a price that gets paid for our seamless, easy digital lives. So let's actually take a look at what that price really is. The environmental toll is so staggering that some have started calling it digital ecocide. I mean, just think about that term. To build the physical footprint of the cloud, entire ecosystems are often completely destroyed. Biodiversity is sacrificed for technological expansion, and indigenous lands are very often the first places targeted for this kind of resource extraction.
This table shows the wild inequality that the cloud is literally built on. A lithium miner in Australia, where the market is regulated, might make around $9,000 a month. But in Chile, where that same mining is depleting precious water sources, the wage just plummets. And then you have the DR Congo, where cobalt miners face extreme, life-threatening health risks, often for just subsistence-level pay.
And that inequality, it extends to the labor that keeps the algorithms running in these, what you could call digital sweatshops. An AI content moderator in Kenya might make just over $1,000 a year reviewing the most horrific, traumatizing content imaginable, often leading to severe PTSD. Meanwhile, the tech engineer in the US whose algorithm they're training, they can be making over $250,000.
But this isn't just a story of extraction. Far from it. It's also a story of really powerful resistance. And that resistance is being led by a movement called Indigenous Data Sovereignty, which is all about reclaiming digital identity and, well, power. Now, to really understand this movement, you have to understand what data even means. For indigenous communities, data isn't just a bunch of ones and zeros. It represents their stories, their traditional knowledge, their connection to their ancestors, and to the land. It's a living, breathing part of their identity.
So how do you protect it? Well, there's this powerful framework emerging called the OCAP principles. It stands for ownership, control, access, and possession. It means the community collectively owns its data, controls how it's used, and has the right to access it. But the real game changer here is that last one, possession. This means having physical control of the data on their own servers.
And this comparison just makes the difference so crystal clear. In the standard model, the platform owns your data, right? It's stored on their foreign corporate servers, and an algorithm is in control. But in the indigenous sovereignty model, data is the community's property, period. It's stored on their own sovereign infrastructure, and it's controlled by the community itself. Two completely different worlds.
And this is all guided by a much deeper philosophy, like the 7 generations principle.
It's a teaching that demands you consider the impact of your actions on people 7 generations from now. I mean, just think about that for a second. How radically different is that from the quarterly profit reports that drive so much of Silicon Valley?
And you know, this isn't just theory. Indigenous communities are actively building a new, sovereign digital world. They're moving from principles on a page to absolutely groundbreaking practice.
Okay, check this out. The EagleSat project. This is an Indigenous-led initiative to launch orbital data centers into space. By moving data into orbit, it becomes physically sovereign. It's beyond the reach of any country's laws. It's also incredibly green, using the freezing cold of space for cooling and solar for power. And the revenue? It gets channeled back to the communities as sovereign dividends.
And as part of this mission, there's an even more incredible idea: a life bank. This is basically a secure digital vault in space for protecting biocultural heritage, things like sacred knowledge and even genetic data from corporate exploitation. And it would be guarded by an AI that's trained not for profit, but to protect that heritage.
What's so amazing is that what's happening here is part of a much bigger story. This whole push for digital sovereignty is actually becoming a global movement, with nations all over the world starting to recognize the dangers of cloud colonialism.
And this isn't just about principles anymore. It's about power, and it's about infrastructure. Countries are now in a race to build their own digital futures. India is investing billions in a sovereign AI stack. Pakistan is drafting laws to mandate national data infrastructure. This is a worldwide movement to build alternatives and resist dependence on the dominant US and Chinese tech empires.
So this all leaves us with one last crucial question. Our entire digital lives, our memories, our identities, our collective knowledge, it's all stored in this cloud. The question is no longer if it's physical, but who controls that physical reality? Who holds the key to your digital world?